Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of RE/MAX Associated Realty. MyNextHomeFinder.com.
It's time now for Mental Health Matters with your host, Lisa Reimer. Mental Health Matters is graciously underwritten by New Vision Eye Center, world-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. New Horizons thanks Dr. Paul Minotti, Dr. Stephen Tate, Dr. Robert Reinauer, and Dr. David O'Brien. Now, here's Lisa Reimer.
Mental health does matter. In fact, mental health is a major determinant for a person's physical health. Mental health issues impacts a person's thinking, their decision-making, their behavior. It's a very important aspect of our whole being, and yet we stigmatized mental health, so we don't talk about it. So hence, Mental Health Matters, our show. Hi, I'm Lisa Reimer. I'm the host of Mental Health Matters and a communications officer for New Horizons of the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee. We're the largest mental health and addiction recovery provider in a 4-county region. We have outpatient offices across Vero, Stewart, Fort Pierce, and Okeechobee, and our main campus in Fort Pierce houses 100 inpatient beds. We have a crisis unit for children, one for adults, a 28-day detox, a 28-day alcohol and drug rehab, and a detox program. We also have a group home. If you want to look at our website, www.nhtcinc.org, New Horizons Treasure Coast Inc.org, we list all of our services, various numbers. We have a mobile response team, 24-hour crisis line where if you need someone, we'll send someone out at no cost, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's kind of amazing. We're here for you. People really care. In the studio with me today is my co-host, Katie Love. Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Katie is a senior at Indian River Charter High School, and she has a segment when we get back from commercial, Teenage Confidential. And we are on the phone today via the magic of the internet with Lindsey Shatters, who is the program director for the CAT program. It's the Children's Community Action Team. Thanks for joining us, Lindsey.
Thank you.
Lindsey is a licensed mental health counselor for New Horizons. What is the CAT team? What is the Community Action Team?
Yes, so we are an intensive outpatient treatment team. Typically, children will come to us if they've been in traditional outpatient services and that hasn't been enough for them. They need more intense care. We are community-based. They refer to the CAT team as residential without walls. We have a lot of flexibility to see these children and work with the families very closely in the community. Our team consists of mental health clinicians who provide individual and family therapy. We're also starting some group therapy as well and support groups. Wraparound case managers who work not only with the youth, but also with the families, really wrapping those families with services, connecting them into the community, helping the youth get connected with extracurriculars that they're interested in. We also have therapeutic mentors that provide really positive role model role for these youth. They can meet with them individually. They can do community activities with them. They can help them really utilize those coping skills they're learning in therapy out in the community settings. And we work very closely with the child psychiatrist here at New Horizons, and we staff cases with her on a weekly basis. And then we also have a registered nurse on our team who can provide a little bit of medical support for these families and collaborate with the medical providers and follow any medical conditions or medical issues that are going on currently with our clients.
What age group are you working with, Lindsey?
So we see children from ages 5 up to age 21. So we don't stop at 18. We actually can see them up until they turn 21.
So they may already be working with you and it just continues until age 21.
Yeah, or if some may start working with us at 18, and that's okay too. We're not meant to be a long-term program. The average length of stay is typically around 6 months. Now, that doesn't mean they get kicked out at 6 months. It just really depends on each case. If they still need our level of care at that point, then we will continue. But our goal is to come in and kind of stabilize this youth and family and help them get to the point where they can be successful at a lower level of care.
So how do people get referred to you? Is it they come in through our Baker Act receiving facility, or the schools or hospitals, other therapists?
Yeah, a little bit of all of that. I do attend bi-monthly meetings with the Crisis Stabilization Unit here and Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Network Care Coordination. So we really keep an eye on those kids that are high utilizers of the crisis unit and if they need our services at that point. And then we also get referrals from the school boards, all 4 that we work with, and they refer directly. We've gotten self-referrals where parents have heard about our program and referred, their kids but on their own. And then we get a lot of referrals from other community agencies as well that provide that traditional outpatient service, but a lot of times their clients need a higher level of care, and then they would refer them to us.
So on Mental Health Matters, we talk a lot about the ACEs and childhood trauma. Can you tell our listeners and our viewers a little bit about what the ACEs, the Adverse Childhood Experiences study, was about? Yeah,
so that comes into play a lot. There's the majority of the children that we work with have had a lot of trauma. Their families have had a lot of, whether it's inflicted purposefully or even just a situational trauma that nobody could prevent. It truly affects the development of these children. It affects their future health, not physical health and mental health. So that is a big part of what we assess for when kids come into care with us. For past trauma and for just childhood experiences in general that maybe people wouldn't even consider necessarily trauma, but they can still affect that development and affect that future mental health and physical health. And then we kind of assess as we go as well, and we collaborate with lots of other agencies that are very specialized in certain trauma as far as in the community, so that we can provide each individual with exactly what would be best for that individual. And sometimes it's not always just CAT. Sometimes we have a client that's working with us and other specialized agencies as well, so that we can really target those needs.
So just go through some of the kinds of trauma that we deal with on a fairly regular basis at New Horizons.
So there's so much, unfortunately. We deal with there's past physical abuse, neglect, there's past sexual abuse, there's a lot of verbal emotional abuse going on with some children. There's a lot of just displacement in the family. Sometimes there's removals, so children that get removed from their homes for one reason or another. There's a lot of death and loss that can be very traumatic for a lot of our kids. There's a lot of substance abuse that plays a role, in our children's lives in many different ways, whether it's through them, through their family, through, close friends. And there's, a lot of suicidality and self-harm. So those are just a few of the many.
Thank you. I know that's really hard. Just listening to that is difficult. So how do you and your team, how does your team sort of work through it themselves? It gets hard when you're listening to kids, on a daily basis, talk about some of the things that they've gone through. It's hard just to listen to it on the news, and you work with these people very directly. How do you deal with that?
That's a good question. It's really difficult at times, but it's really important. And that's one thing I think that's really cool about our program is that we are a very close-knit team. We work together. So there's multiple professionals assigned to each case. So there's multiple professionals that can kind of hand off when things get a little too heavy, but that family isn't without without services. So if things get very heavy in a crisis situation, we have multiple team members that can step in at any time. We also have daily staffings so that we're all on the same page consistently with all these cases, and we're all supporting each other, backing each other up. Self-care is a huge thing in this field. It's important that we all take care of ourselves. We know when we need a day of PTO where we just need to kind of step back from everything and kind of regroup so that we can be our best selves in the professional setting. And we talk about that in individual supervision that I have with my staff on a monthly basis, sometimes more often if needed. But that's definitely something we address consistently, is our self-care and just making sure everybody is supported.
Well, that is good to know. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we're going to talk about how important it is to bring the whole family into the healing process. And we're going to hear from Katie Love and our Teenage Confidential segment.
Are you a therapist or a nurse seeking the multi-state compact license? In the state of Florida, these and many other industries require a Level 2 live scan background check for clearance to work in your industry. A1A Fingerprints is your certified live scan source from Broward to Brevard. And if you're a medical provider, you need to be registered on the ACA web portal. A1A Fingerprints will help you navigate and comply with the law. Call 772-494-6556 or visit a1afingerprints.com. A1A Fingerprints.
Visit fellowship-trained Dr. Sarah Kadadaday for the latest in glaucoma treatment and custom cataract surgery at New Vision Eye Center. Dr. Kadadaday received her fellowship training at Yale University and is board certified by the American Board of Ophthalmology. Call for your consultation at 772-257-8700 or visit newvisioneyecenter.com. World-class eye care on the Treasure Coast. That's New Vision Eye Center.
Have you shopped at the Habitat Restore lately? This is one place that everyone must visit. It's become a regular weekly stop for many who love the thrill of discovering all the newly arriving merchandise. We become popular because of the generosity of so many Indian River County residents and businesses that donate goods. To start with, we have a deconstruction crew that removes building materials for the purpose of reuse. Through resale, the Restore continues to support the Habitat goal of serving families in our county. Of course, there's more to see. The Restore's massive showroom displays furniture for every room, all in great condition. Shoppers will love the layout, which separates departments including plumbing, home accessories, electronics, lawn and garden, tools, sporting goods, seasonal goods, and more. The Indian River County Habitat Restore is at 4580 North US Highway 1, just north of 45th Street. Tax-deductible donations can be dropped off, or we'll come and pick them up for free. Online at irchabitat.org.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters. If you're just joining us, I'm Lisa Reimer in the studio with Miss Katie Love, and on remotely connected to Lindsey Shatters, Program Manager for the Children's Community Action Team at New Horizons. Before we continue, you can catch the first part of our interview on our Facebook page, New Horizons Mental Health, or you can always check us out online, www.nhtcinc.org. Katie, hit it.
Hi. So I'm going to be doing my segment on the teenage confidentiality. Sorry. And it's actually going to kind of relate to what we've been talking about how important it is to seek help when it's necessary. And kind of the stigma that surrounds that, of how, a lot of people my age don't want to go to therapy or seek help because there's this fear that you're going to be labeled as crazy or emo, or, just you're going to kind of be cast out just for trying to go out and get help. And I think it's very important that we teach our children that it's not bad to go and seek help when you feel like you need it. It's going to benefit you in the long run. And it's sad to me that, I actually experienced it. I was so against therapy for a very long time because I was terrified of being, well, I don't want to be labeled as crazy. I don't want everyone to think I'm lame or something just for, trying to get better. So I think there needs to be like just a general understanding between, older generation and the younger generation that it's not wrong to go to therapy or to seek help, or if even having to go to a mental hospital. I've had a friend who had to go there, and for the longest time I had people talking behind her back about how she must have been crazy, and she wasn't. She just needed help. So I think it's very important that is what is understood when we go forward with that. It shouldn't be that we need to bully someone into feeling like they can't get better, because that just creates an endless cycle of just hate and, more degrading mental health. I mean, it's horrible. And I think it's just something that a lot of teenagers would benefit from.
I think you're right. Also, do you see that in your clients that, Lindsey, in the CAT team, that the kids are resistant because of the stigma?
Yes, we do, unfortunately, and we try and break through that. It's sometimes very hard, especially when it's getting ingrained in them in different settings like schools and everything like that. We try and prevent that by asking where that each individual would feel most comfortable receiving those services, and really trying to work on building that rapport with the family, with the individual, and trying to make it the most comfortable setting that individual needs.
Oh, so what are some of the options for settings? Home, the mall?
Yeah. Actually, the mentor can help. It has taken clients to the mall before to work on social skills, or to different things that are in each person's treatment plan. We try and get very creative. Our mentors also have been able to go out and on trails, and we have our therapists that have done sessions at the parks, at in schools, in homes, in front yards, and so we can, the office setting, telehealth we've been utilizing some as well, especially with the pandemic, and then our differences with groups as well. So once we're trying to get our groups going, and that's actually a barrier that we're starting to have, is these youth are very concerned about joining a group where other people are going to be able to identify them as having some struggles. So we definitely are running into that as a barrier, but we're trying to work our best around it and get as much input as we can from our clients.
Did we see an increase in demand for this intensive approach to therapy after COVID, or after it began? Over the last year and a half, have you seen an increase in the demand for CAT team services?
Yes, actually, we are working off a wait list currently. So there has been, I think the pandemic put a lot of stress not only on the children, but the families in general, which then kind of trickles down to the children. So we have had an increase, and we are trying to, like I said, start new services and expand a little bit to try and work with that increase.
And so tell us a little bit about how you work with a whole family.
Right. So our case managers are trained in wraparound. Wraparound is a modality that really targets the family. We want to wrap these families with services. If anything that's going on within the family unit is going to affect the client. So the child is still our identified client, but we want to we can't just work on the individual and ignore the environment and the surroundings. So we want to make sure that the parents or the caregivers are receiving the services they need, so that they can be the best in their role that they can be. We want to make sure siblings in the house are also receiving services. Sometimes we do family therapy with, certain triads or dyads within the family as well, to work on specific targeted issues in certain relationships, to really target those issues that are coming out in the identified client.
So do you see, what if there's resistance from a parent? So they're not willing to deal with their substance abuse, for instance, and you're dealing with the manifestations of certain behaviors from the child, and so they're in the CAT team. I mean, that seems to be something that would happen very commonly. I mean, everybody doesn't necessarily get ready to get well at the same time.
Right. No, and there's a lot of resistance sometimes, and whether that's for good reasons or not, we are trying to find ways to bring these families together. We're trying to start some parent or caregiver engagement activities where we are going out in the community doing things like beach cleanups or stuff with the child and the caregiver. So really trying to get these caregivers present in the lives of their children, of the youth in their home, to try and build that relationship. I think it's really hard with the day-to-day of just trying to provide. A lot of these parents, mean well and are trying the best they can. They just don't know how to start building that relationship or what steps to take towards that. So we're really trying to work on providing those opportunities for them to do that, as well as starting a caregiver and child support groups where they would actually come together once a month and eat dinner together that we would provide, and then go to their own individual support groups so that we have that together piece, but also that separate of dealing with parents supporting parents and youth supporting youth.
So, I get asked a lot about our success rates, and that's a difficult thing. If you go through, for instance, like a 28-day rehab, and we do try to maintain relationships with our clients afterward, and if people relapse, which happens all the time, they don't necessarily return our phone calls. They don't want to continue a relationship. And then if you do maintain a level of sobriety, you may move on from New Horizons. You've started a new life in recovery. Do you confront those kinds of issues, like with maintaining relationships, success rates? Is there such a thing as, do you cure people, or do you stay in touch with them after they've left the CAT program?
So unfortunately, we don't stay in touch really with clients that are necessarily have moved on from our program. So if they successfully completed our program and they've moved on, we really want them to be independent in the community. So our goal is to not have to, be able to work with those clients again. Now, I say that, but I also don't think it's a failure if some clients have to come back at a different time in their life. I think there's a lot of things that go on in clients' lives. Even in our lives, we can stabilize at one point and then get something else comes up in our life and we need support again. And then we may be fine, after a couple months, and then 3 years down the road, we may need to reach out for some extra support again. And that's okay. I think it's just, being able to learn from each experience and being able to learn how to get help when you need it. And I think that's the key.
Yes, I think that is the key. And I think that's what Katie was talking about earlier. If somebody wants to get a hold of you or looking for a referral, can you give them a contact email?
Yes, they can always email me at lshatters, that's LSHATTERS, at nhtcinc.org. They can always call New Horizons here and ask to speak to the CAT team, and they would get forward directly to our program assistant, Sabrina. And our main office number for the CAT team is the 772-672-8417. Okay.
So, or you can just call me. My phone goes right to my cell phone. So, and I'll get you in touch with Lindsey. Thank you so much for joining us today. 772-696-2729. 772-672-8333. I think I just gave you my cell phone. And Miss Katie Love, thank you so much for being in the studio with us. And we will see you next time.